few moments, we are going to begin the service for Dr. Martin D. Steinberg. Just as a gentle reminder, if anybody has a phone,
Yeah, I just didn't want to trip over them.
or any noise-making device for that matter, if you could take a moment to just please turn it on silent. On behalf of the family, I want to thank those of us who are joining here, as well as some of the family members who are going to be participating on our live stream. Officiating our service is family. Jeremy Klausner.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank everyone who came out today. We're surrounded by Martin's family here and everybody who is joining us via the wonderful internet machine so that they can be here to participate in the service for my uncle. That almost tipped over because I was just about to cry. I probably will be the first one to cry. Although my father was a rabbi, I didn't get the gene that allowed him to do these services without shedding a tear. It was quite impressive. At the suggestion of my cousin Adam, I'd like to start today and ask for a moment of silence for all the innocent victims of the violence in Israel. Thank you. Martin Steinberg was my uncle. He was a loving father to Jennifer and Adam, a beloved grandfather to Elliot and Jasper, a wonderful brother to my mother Judith, and a wonderful son to his parents, Meyer, who went far too soon, and Bess, who was a piece of work. Also with us today are Sarah and Rael Batensley and their daughter, Jennifer. We've got two Jennifers today. And we have Adam joining us from the Philippines via the internet machine, and many other friends and family, and Martin's friend and caregiver, Maj, who is here with us today. Thank you all. I will lift up mine eyes unto the mountains, from whence shall my help come? My help cometh from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel doth neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall keep thee from all evil. He shall keep thy soul. The Lord shall guard thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and forever. Loving Lord and Father, source of all wisdom and goodness and mercy, thy ways are past our finding out. Thou art strong and we are weak. Thou art wise and we are simple. Thou art just and we are rebellious. Thou art infinite and we are finite. Thou art eternal and we may but tarry for a while. But with all thy wisdom and power and justice, thou art gracious and compassionate. Thou art near to thy children when they call upon thee in their grief. Thou bendest down close to the suffering, to hear their cry, and to still the anguish of their souls. Hear us, O Father, for we are sorely stricken. Help us bear our burden bravely. Without thee we must stumble and fall. With thee we can struggle on through the darkness until we at last find our way again. Send forth thy light and thy truth, that they may lead us. Give us to understanding something of thy purpose, that we murmur not. Strengthen our faith, that we lean upon thee. We know, O God, thy ways are sure, that not without wise purpose dost thou afflict thy children. In thine abundant goodness, thou didst give us Martin, in whose life we have rejoiced and grown and benefited from having him with us. Thy richest blessing we shared with Martin in overflowing measure. His love answering to ours, his sweet companionship with us, his tenderness filled all our days with beauty and gladness. And we praise thee for thy boundless goodness for giving Martin to us. Now his earthly time has come to an end. We give him back unto thee in faith and submission. Thou hast called, and he has come at thy summons. Yet we do not murmur against thee. Through our pain, we trust in thee and praise thee for thy goodness unto us. We thank thee from the depths of our hearts for all the years of love and joy we had with Martin. We cherish that love, and though he be gone, reverently we shall hallow his memory in love undying. In thy compassionate love, gather him unto thee. Forgive him his errors, for there is no man that liveth and sinneth not. And vouchsafe unto him thy heavenly peace. Still thou our longings, O Father, in thy love. Quiet our vain yearnings after him. Help us to go our way bravely, even though alone, and to do our task faithfully day by day. Make our true love a constant inspiration to lives of service and gladness, that his memory may live on through us and endure among men for blessing. And in thine own time, O God, when thou calls us to return unto thee, may we come strong and rejoicing. For with thee is the fountain of all life. In thy light we shall see it. And together we say, Amen. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Our God and God of our ancestors, at this hour of grief we turn in prayer unto thee, the all-merciful and all-wise guardian of our destinies. Thou art our loving Father. In the fullness of thy kindness dost thou lead us in the paths of life. The light of thy goodness ever illumines our steps. Even when we are in the valley of the shadow of death, we feel thy presence. We see thy hand in all that comes over us and reverently submit to thy decrees. Thou who hast made man knowest what is best for him. And we are grateful unto thee for the bounties of life. Even so do we thank thee for the evening calm of death, which comes after the storm of struggles and hardships and spreads its wings over the weary and the heavy laden. Even when the cup of sorrow is passed to our lips, we know that thou dost not smite us in anger. In this painful hour of parting with Martin, we praise thee, O God, for the years which thou hast granted unto him, in which he brought joy and comfort to everyone here and everyone here gathered. May strength and consolation come unto his family. Teach them thy ways, that they may triumph over their grief, and that chastened by this sorrow they may learn all the more tenderly to extend their affection and love to the dear ones whom thou hast spared unto them. We praise thee, whose love and kindness are endless. I'm going to now ask Jennifer to say a few words about her dad.
So I wrote a little something, which probably doesn't surprise anyone. But before I read it, I was thinking on the way over here about how when my mother was dying, the way that I knew she was coming to her end was when she stopped petting the cat that was in the bed and when her hand stilled. And I was trying to think of what was that marker for Martin. And I think it was when he no longer was asking for chocolate ice cream of the nurses at the nursing home. When he didn't want chocolate anymore, that was the mark that he was coming to rest. There's a ritual we children do for our parents, the clean out, the purge, the painful act of getting rid of all the stuff accumulated over a life, the things, both meaningful and not so meaningful, surrounding a person all those years. My dad was not a big buyer of things, thankfully, except for used books, and so my task was less Herculean than for some. In fact, I've done a major purge for my dad 3 times now. Once when he and his partner Anne left Martin's beloved condo in Evanston. That's when all the books, hundreds of them, had to go in a big swoop, which was heartbreaking. I purged again when they moved into the nursing home as Anne's health declined and they both needed more assistance. And lastly, this week, I completed the purge in the wake of my dad's death at age 93. What was left for this 3rd round was a paltry sum, a couple of Royal Dalton mugs from a once large collection that went during an earlier clean-out, a sculpture done by his beloved sister Judith, copies of my books inscribed by me, Dad, here's another book, love Jen, some of the ugliest shirts imaginable. I mean really ugly. Think lavender and orange pinstripes on the same shirt. A few Limelighter CDs, which he listened to incessantly until his final days, much to his roommate's chagrin. And pictures of his kids and grandkids, which he could no longer see in recent years, but which surrounded him nonetheless. Those pictures represented all that mattered to Martin, really. And that was always true. When we were kids, despite living apart, Martin was a fabulous dad, taking us to the same museums over and over because we loved them. That would be the Museum of Science and Industry for Adam and the Field Museum or the aquarium for me, of course. Suffering the same hot and sticky Renaissance festival year after year because we loved it. Building little boats with us to sail in the local pond and a box kite that crashed and burned on its maiden flight. He wrestled on the floor with us despite our bony elbows and knees, played guitar and sang harmony with us, recited classical poetry to amaze us, and made silly recordings that included making retching sounds and splashing water into the toilet to mimic the sound of vomiting, much to our childish delight. Later, he took us to London and across France and through Italy, and later still, he and I ventured to Vienna and Budapest and Prague. And I will always remember him in his black wool cap, standing in the middle of a European street with his paper map open every which way, trying to navigate to the next monument, museum, or cafe on his list. Mostly cafes, if I remember correctly. It amazes me now to think how rarely Dad got mad at us. He almost never yelled, despite our relentless childish bickering over so many things, and that says a lot about him. Mostly, he was really proud of us, really proud. Whatever we did was the absolute best. My God, he'd yell after listening to one of Adam's songs or reading one of my essays. Nothing made him smile bigger than our artistry. In his mind, anyway, our talents deserve the world's attention, and millions in earnings, of course. In his world, Adam's music would be a huge hit, and my writing would make me a star. And when a full song or book chapter became more than he could follow, just our calls to him meant everything. As dementia nudged him further into a corner, he spent the hours waiting for our daily calls and was truly delighted, even amazed every time we reached him. "It's you," he'd say, relief in his voice. "I was hoping you'd call today, and now you have." Whatever he owned was immaterial. Martin loved us with everything he had, and we always knew it. What more can a parent offer his children? Nothing at all.
I'm lucky because somebody else wrote my part. That was absolutely beautiful. Martin was a he was a kind, gentle man. And just before the service, I was talking with Madge, and she said the most wonderful thing about him. He had a childlike curiosity. He loved to ask questions, and in his later years, when that dementia was nudging him into a corner, he liked to be given puzzles on the telephone. He liked word games. But when I called him, what he liked to do was to go through the family tree. And I had it all written out from numerous times doing it with him. And we would go, and I would say who the relative was, and he would, as it got later and later, at the beginning, he's the one who gave me the whole family tree, just easily. And then as it wore on, he struggled a little bit. And then I would tell him who the people were and what their relationships were. And he would say, "That's right." And I would say, "I know, you're the one who told me." And he really enjoyed doing that. And I think that together with Jennifer and Adam, and I know Jenny was calling 3-4 times a day at one point, it really helped keep him here with us. And that childlike curiosity was at the bottom of it all. He was curious, and he wanted his mind to work. That was something that he carried with him through his life. And now we have Adam, who is going to make some remarks from the Philippines, and I think he's got some music to play for us and some poetry. So I will turn it over to our IT department back here, and Adam, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Am I audible where you are?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we're going to mute ourselves just so we could focus on you, okay?
Right. If it, I don't know if at any point it cuts out, if someone wants to wave a hand or something so I know to pause, that would be helpful.
We will. If anything happens, we'll let you know.
Thank you. Let me know when to start, sir.
Okay, you can begin now, Adam.
Thank you. All right, I can't see you right now. Perhaps they'll do the opportunity to see who's there, but I want to thank everybody who was able to come today. This is, of course, typically a short notice kind of situation, and I really regret not being there. Even as late as Monday, our passports were tied up with the visa processing part of the Philippines here, and with the 24-hour travel and other issues, it was just impossible to make it out there. We may try to have some sort of celebration of Dad's life either later this year or early next year. So that's something to watch for, and we'll try to let people know. You can't really prepare for these things, even if you have years of runway. I heard a quote recently, which Hemingway said, which he was talking about bankruptcy, but I'm going to apply it to the end of life, which is that for many people, you tend to die slowly, then quickly. And that's how Dad's death feels. On the one hand, we talked over the last few years, Jenny and I, on a number of occasions, thought, oh my gosh, we're at the end. How are we going to move forward? And yet, when it happens, you can't prepare for it. I'm going to talk just a moment about the difficult road that led to this moment, because I think it's important to acknowledge it, but then I promise to get to the happy stuff after that. Dad's physical tragedy started in about 2000. I don't know the exact date, when a heart medication caused him to lose a good portion of his vision over the course of a very short period of time. I think it was a month or two. The chances were, according to the label, 1 in 15,000, if I recall. He ended up with just a sliver of his vision, not in the center, but off to the sides, and this declined a bit over time. And his hearing was falling off, of course, in these years, and eventually he stopped wearing his hearing aids. So the main thing to say about Dad and hearing the joy that he got when we were to call him and such is that his world was getting smaller and smaller. in ways that none of us, I think, can imagine. When he entered the nursing home, when Anne and he could no longer look after each other, which I suppose is what was happening, it got smaller. When she passed away very soon after that, and then COVID came in and they locked the place down for at least a year, his life shrunk to a pinpoint with just a few lights in it. Us, Jenny and I, calling him, visiting when we could, a few loyal visitors like Maj who came in and brought him some color in his life, and the music that we play for him when he lost the ability to push the button himself. I don't know the lesson we learn here except to take care of our health and to make sure that we maintain our interests and our friendships as much as we can so that if we lose some, we have others to sustain us when we get to that point in our lives when things become more limited. But his life also contained a great deal of joy and humor, and I think he must have lived off of this for a long time. I have a few quick flashbacks that have a great meaning to me. Dad hitting balls to me along the lake in Evanston so I could practice catching high flies. He rarely missed. When I lived with him, eating out at least once, if not sometimes twice a week at the same Thai restaurant where we always ordered the same thing. There were several occasions where we walked in, nodded at the waiter, he nodded back, and he went in the back to put in our order. Chicken ginger, always. Watching baseball and football games with him, so many games, he would talk back to the screen and I would tell him to shut up so I could hear the professionals do their commentary. Some of you may have seen him sucking down popsicles and fudgesicles. At one point, we literally had to talk, Jenny and I, and with him about whether it was going to affect his health poorly. Dad telling us every time we passed certain spots what had happened at those spots, to the extent that we would try to head him off. He'd open his mouth and one of us would say, "Dad, didn't you used to live down that street with Granny when you were in grad school?" And what could he say? Yeah, he was about to tell us. Dad singing Danny Boy, his favorite song, and always tearing up. Dad giving Tasha, our golden retriever, a big belly rub down while saying, "Tasha Mash!" And going way back, Dad showing us endless slides of his trips to Europe, to the extent that both young and old alike were fidgeting in their folding chairs. There's another cartridge, can we please eat dinner first? And lastly, I remember Dad laughing, his Ernie-like laugh through his teeth. Most of my images of my dad are of him smiling and laughing, and I think that is unusual. I'd like to give now 3 quick images to characterize my dad with a short reading in there. The first image is the man of many words. He was a talker. Some of you may suspect I inherited some of that from him. He had a vast vocabulary, including many archaic terms, which I know I keep alive. Even my wife, Steffi, who's German, will baffle Germans and Americans alike by using "in like Flynn" correctly in a sentence. He invented words like bougie, which means very soft, and I know he used to call Jenny Schmigdrop, among other nonsense names. As Jeremy pointed out, he loved crossword puzzles and wordplay. One of my childhood friends, in his condolences on Facebook, said his memory was sitting in the living room with my dad and my sister and I playing the Fictionary game, where you make up definitions. He loved just using language. He loved, I think, the feel of it in his mouth when he recited Byron or tried to recreate Beowulf in the original Old English, which he'd memorized. When he called me on the phone, he would intone, "It is I." He had a knack for foreign languages, too, which he would speak with great, probably overly flowery attention to accents. But he was also a writer. He wrote his own, and some of you may have heard some of his stuff. On the one side was the doggerel that he and his old friend Gus Spiro would inflict upon each other, like on their birthdays. I won't inflict any of that upon you. But it was clever and silly and awful. He wrote many poems for Jenny and me and bound them up in a collection, and I have that collection here, which I actually brought with me to the Philippines. And I noted in looking through these poems, there's about 15 poems or something in here, how many of them were in the voice of a parent reveling in the joy of having children, but also how many are in the voice of the child, capturing their wonder at the world. Some of the first lines are, "When I was still a baby and could hardly talk at all," and "I like to go off to a special place where grown-ups are not allowed." I think he could have taught a few things about empathy to Shel Silverstein. I'm going to read very briefly here a fragment of a poem or two, and then one short poem of his. He has fragments here from different years. He wrote in 1968, "I want to fly around the world or sail out with the fleet, but so far I can't get my mom to let me cross the street." 1968. "Since I parted my hair from left to right and combed from front to rear, my mother whispers in my nose and feeds me through my ear." 1975. I'm going to read you The Unicorn's Bad Day. This is from December of 74. "Today I met a unicorn sitting on a fence. He asked if he could borrow 15 cents. I need it for the horn cutting man," said he. "Without him no one ever will believe in me." Then the horn cutter said, "Please don't take offense, but I won't cut a horn for 15 cents. I won't cut it for $1, but I might for 2, and no one, till I do it, will believe in you." Then the unicorn was angry, and he said, "Of course, I need the horn removed because I want to be a horse, but I haven't got $1 and I don't have 2. But you'd better start in cutting or I'll gore you through." Well, the horn cutter trembled as a consequence, and he sawed away the horn for the 15 cents. Then the unicorn was gleeful. He ran up and down, and finally he headed for the nearest town. As he came into the village, he heard several people say, "Don't that unicorn look funny since his horn was cut away?" Image 2 is the man of humor. This may be true in all your families, I don't know, but in ours it was true. Jenny and my dad and I, we always understood each other's humor. We always knew when someone else was joking, and we often were, and we laughed with each other. Humor was woven into our daily lives. And I think Jerry even brought this up a little. I think this explains why we almost never fought, even during the years I lived with him in his small apartment. I would quarrel with my mom endlessly, but Dad was so easygoing and full of humor and accepting. Sometimes I think maybe too accepting of his situation later in life. But if it was to a fault, it was still admirable. When we talk of him as gentle, which we do, and as kind and accepting and full of humor, these are the things I will remember and emulate, and I want my children to inherit from him through me. Lastly, image 3 is my dad, the man of music. Barbershop choral singing became a big part of his life. And as a child, I remember he and my mother singing folk songs at parties in great demand. Even when I was age 3, they were teaching me to sing along in harmony. I have recordings at age 4. In fact, I became a songwriter to emulate my dad, his crazy poems for Jenny, for me, and for Gus, his song lyrics. He adored folk music, everyone from Joan Baez to the Kingston Trio to the Golden Gate Quartet. I think maybe one of the highlights of his life, he told me over and over, was when he got to meet his musical idol, Glenn Yarborough of the Limelighters. If you picture, if you will, Glenn Yarborough, his daughter, who was my friend, myself and Dad sitting in Glenn's rather modest living room in Chicago, singing with him his songs that we had heard on albums, singing harmonies with him. It was a great moment for myself and a great moment for my dad that he always marveled at. I want to close with music, which I think Dad would approve of. I have a couple of songs here from 1967 when I was 2 and Jenny not yet born. The first 2, I just have a little sample, and then the third one is a whole song. I'm going to play these without commentary, or Jeremy will. We'll figure that out in a moment. Except to mention, to note the shrieking of the budgie, who nobody noticed was in the room being recorded through all these wonderful recordings with this shrieking parakeet or whatever it was. If you ever make a recording like this, be aware of the birds. Jeremy, does it make sense for you to play this, or shall I try to do so through Zoom?
I think you should try.
Yeah, Adam, try it.
You'll have to unmute to tell me the best bet here. I should try?
You should try.
All right, I'm going to see whether I have the ability to play music. I may have to re-log in to do that. Audio. Well, I'm going to give it a try here. I seem to remember there's a setting I was supposed to set when I logged in. I'm putting up the song now. I'll try to play it, Jenny. You can give me a star rating with fingers, and we'll see whether it's going to work that way. Give me one more moment here. Original sound from musicians. Advanced. No. All right, we'll try it.
Hold up your fingers so you can see it's working.
Shapes and tiny road, so scary wide. My precious one, to me. We shall have a reason. Sleep, my little one. I might you in the street. Today is the day that you made your way with a half a pound of cheese. When you open them, then you will notice a kid with a half a pound of cheese. Yes, this will be the treat you roll up and come out the cheese you buy. A half a pound of English cheddar includes a British curly better. Today is the day that you make your way with a half a pound of cheese. A bargain like this you will not run away with a half a pound of cheese. It must study your cup of tea. You can get a child from Germany. But you see, when child be badly can bear your favorite brand. Yes, there's only one day in today is the day for the baby with the cheese. So spare your one with the sharper like a number 30. There's a people somewhere. They call it this land. And I'll be there someday. Hold my hand. I still need to think, sorry, I won't ever find nothing. There is always someone for each of us, they say, and you'll be my someone. I could so my life is but I know I can find another. It's a long time you so stay by my side. When I walk in the sun, you'll be my guide. Be my guide. If they gave me a portion, my legs would be small, my wings is all clear. If I should lose I don't know. I'll never find. But if I should lose I don't know. All right. Thank you. I may post some of these files at some point and let people know.
They really
you,
are
Jeremy.
beautiful. Yeah, I think people would enjoy them
I
to
can't
hear
hear
them.
you, Jen, but I
Oh,
see you
that's
saying
okay.
good things.
They're more beautiful in a better recording. So if people are interested, they actually had lovely voices. That was a little choppy, but thank you for trying.
I'm going to do it this way. Thank you, Adam. That was wonderful. I laughed and I smiled a lot. Those were wonderful memories of Martin to share. And now, friends and family, it's time to say goodbye. O thou that dwellest in the covert of the Most High, and abidest in the shadow of the Almighty, I will say of the Lord, who is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust, that he will cover thee with his pinions, and under his wings shalt thou take refuge. His truth is a shield and a buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flieth by day, of the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor of the destruction that wasteth at noonday. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy tent. Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and bring him to honor. With long life will I satisfy him and make him to behold my salvation. I'm going to ask Jenny to join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise be thou, O Lord our God, ruler of the world, who forms us in his image, who nourishes and sustains us in his goodness, who causes us to die in accordance with his law, and who implants within us immortal life. Praise be thou, O Lord, judge of truth. Thou art mighty forever, O Lord. Thou aboundest in salvation. In loving kindness thou sustainest the living. In the multitude of thy mercies thou quickenest all. Thou upholdest the falling, healest the sick, and loosest the bound. Thou wilt fulfill thy promise of immortal life unto those who sleep in the dust. Who is like unto thee, Almighty God, author of life and death, source of salvation? Praise be thou, O Lord, who has implanted within us immortal life. Baruch atah Adonai, notain b'tochenu chaye olam. The dust returns unto the earth as it was, but the Spirit unto God who gave it. Thus we give back to the earth that which was of the earth. It is but the house of the Spirit which we now lay in the bosom of the earth. The Spirit itself cannot die. Even here on earth, the dear ones continue in the love and remembrance of those whom they were precious. Their good name is a crown that never fadeth. Their good life is an inspiration to those who come after them. Receive in mercy, O God, the soul of Martin. Graciously pardon his sins. blot out the remembrance of them. For there liveth no man on earth who is so righteous that he sinneth not. Grant Martin that everlasting peace, or chocolate. Grant Martin that everlasting peace, which thou hast laid up for us in the world to come. Though no human eye hath seen, nor ear hath heard, nor mind hath compassed it, it is still our sure inheritance and our everlasting portion. Together, we'll say the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon uv'meichon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mavarach le'ala u'lemei maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitrar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei dekud shabrichu. Le'al malkil b'chirasa v'shirasa, tush b'chasa v'nechamasa, da'amiran b'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba mim shemayim v'chayim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. O say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. I'm going to invite everyone to come up. From Israel.
And gentlemen, welcome to put the flowers before we put the vault cover up. After we put the cover on, everyone's going to be welcome to place some earth in as well. If I can just have you come carefully back to this side, but they're going to be doing the equipment now.
And friends and family, we say goodbye to the dearly departed Martin. Father, brother, grandfather, uncle, beloved. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. May he look down upon you and be ever gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panavilecha asem laka shalom. May he look down upon you and grant you his most precious gift. Shalom. Peace. And together we say, Amen.
One for my brother.
Here's one from your loving sister.
Now it's like, oh, you don't put it down out of that.
Sorry, oh.
Take another. But I put it down.
No one knows the rules.
I didn't
You're
know
supposed
that.
to hand it to
I didn't know that, sorry. I knew that.
Do one for yourself, and then we'll do one just in case, and one to make sure.
Just in case it was
I don't know. I think you're supposed to do it.
She always knows all about it.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure. I mean, that's,
Friends, you want to, are you okay with
no,
the
but you weren't
cemetery?
supposed to put it back. You're supposed to give it to
Are you going to use some machinery? That's okay?
You put it back. But then you did
But
it.
I did it.
Still on, because nobody wants to. We can hear you.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody who listened in. Thank God the sun is shining. Ooh, this boat is really inelegant.
front.
So friends, thank you so much for coming. This has concluded our service here at the cemetery. And again, just thank you to Adam and to everybody on the live stream.
Where are the
We'll have a copy
headstones?
available later online.
There are the headstones.
And
So where are they? It's
memorial contributions
this way.
American Diabetes Association.
Yeah, that's fine. And there's another listed on the site that my
Okay.
brother suggested.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This will end the live. This will end the live stream now.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Jen.
Bye, Adam.
Thanks, Walter. Thank you, Maj. And Jeremy.